Greetings everyone and welcome back to Daily Pali Reading. Today's passage, Evam imani aneka vihitani ditti gatani aloke uppajjanti, sassato lokoti va pe, neva hoti na hoti tatagato parang maranati vati, ayanko vacha hetu, ayang pachayo, yan imani aneka vihitani ditti gatani aloke uppajjanti, sassato lokoti va asassato lokoti va pe, neva hoti na hoti tatagato parang maranati vati, patamang. Okay, so that was a long passage, but I mentioned last time how in this part of the passage we would come across a perhaps infamous feature of the Pali Canon, and that is one of repetition. You'll notice that there are some blue words, and these blue words are the only words in this passage that we haven't encountered. Everything else is word for word exactly what we had before. So I will go ahead and translate this. And I should say the context is the Buddha has mentioned that why do speculative views arise? Due to ignorance of the body, ignorance of the origin or arising of the body, of the cessation of the body, and of the path that would lead to the cessation of the body. And so the Buddha continues, thus these various speculative views arise in the world. The world is eternal. Then we get to this pe. Pe is short for peyala, which means repetition, succession. Pe is actually really equivalent to our etc. And normally when you see etc, that's an abbreviation for etc. The pe is short for this peyala. And it really means that something needs to be repeated. And you can tell what's happened here. We see the sassato lokoti va, then there's this pe, and then neva hoti, na hoti, tatagato, etc. So if you were to go back to Vacchagotta's question, the second part, you would see that the Buddha is just repeating his question. And in this passage, they've just put in you need to repeat the part that's in between there. Now the next, if we go on here, we have ayang ko vacha hetu, ayang pachayo. When Vacchagotta asked the question, he asked ko hetu, ko pachayo. What is the cause? What's the reason? And here the Buddha says ayang hetu. This is the reason. So this is referring back to what he just said, that of ignorance, the aññāna. So this is the reason, this is the cause why these various speculative views arise in the world. And then, again, just to be thorough, that second part of the question is repeated again, and we see that there's a pe here. And that takes us to the end, almost to the end. That takes us to the end of the Buddha's response. Then there's this other word at the very end, patamang. Now, patamang is an ordinal, and it means first. It's not so clear because of this presentation why we would have this word first. But when we go on to the next passage, which we'll have in full, or we'll have the second sutta in full, you'll see at the end it's dutiyang, the second. And again, we will see in that entire sutta only one word is then different from this one. So there's a lot of repetition there, and this patamang, dutiyang, etc. is just helping to keep straight that this is the first one. Of course, keep in mind that all of this was being transmitted orally for centuries. And this would be roughly the equivalent to putting in something like chapter 1, chapter 2, a good way of marking an end of something and a beginning of something else. So that about wraps up everything for today, except there was something I forgot to mention before, and that is this word vacha. The Buddha's vocative, when he addresses Vacchagotta, he calls him vacha. Now, I think everywhere you look, Vacchagotta is just translated as Vacchagotta. But you can break that apart. Vacha we would take as an actual name. Gotta is a word that the Pali English Dictionary says there is no single English word for it, but it has to do with ancestry and lineage. So you could think about Vacchagotta as meaning roughly some kind of like family name. And so that is perhaps why the Buddha addresses him as Vacha and not Vacchagotta. He just calls him by that ancestral name. So that really will bring us to the conclusion. Tune in next time when we tackle the next section of the Vacchagotta Samyutta. Peace.